Jerusalem is one of the oldest and most historically significant cities in the world. Few places on earth carry such deep religious, political, and cultural meaning. For thousands of years, this city has stood at the center of faith, conflict, and civilization. In the year 1100 AD, Jerusalem was a city transformed by war, devotion, and shifting empires. Only 1 year earlier, in 1099, the armies of the First Crusade captured the city after a brutal siege that shocked the medieval world. What had been a Muslim city under the rule of the Fatimid Caliphate suddenly became the capital of a new Christian kingdom created by European Crusaders. To understand Jerusalem in 1100 AD, we must step into a moment when three great religions and multiple civilizations all saw this city as sacred, strategic, and worth fighting for. Long before the Crusaders arrived, Jerusalem had already lived through thousands of years of history. The city had been conquered and rebuilt many times. Ancient Israelites, Babylonians, Persians, Greeks, Romans, Byzantines, and Muslim caliphates had all ruled here at different moments in history. Each empire left behind traces of architecture, religion, and culture. By the 7th century, Jerusalem became part of the expanding Islamic world after Muslim armies captured the city from the Byzantine Empire. Under Islamic rule, the city remained an important religious center, especially because of the Haram al-Sharif, the noble sanctuary, where the magnificent dome of the Rock and the Al-Aqsa Mosque were built. For Muslims, this area was sacred because it was believed to be the place where the Prophet Muhammad ascended to heaven during the night journey. For Christians, Jerusalem was the place where Jesus had been crucified and resurrected. And for Jews, it was the site of the ancient temple that once stood on the same hill centuries earlier. By the late 11th century, Europe had become deeply connected to the idea of Jerusalem. Pilgrims traveled for months or even years to reach the city. Many came simply to pray at the Church of the Holy Sepulchre, the site believed to contain the tomb of Jesus. But political tensions in the region and reports of difficulties faced by Christian pilgrims helped fuel a new movement in Europe. In 1095, Pope Urban II called for a crusade, urging Christian knights and nobles to travel east and reclaim Jerusalem from Muslim control. Thousands answered the call. The Crusaders marched across Europe and through the Byzantine Empire before entering the Middle East. After years of fighting and hardship, they finally reached Jerusalem in June of 1099. The city was heavily fortified, surrounded by thick walls and defensive towers built centuries earlier. But after a siege lasting several weeks, the Crusaders managed to breach the defenses. What followed was one of the most violent episodes in medieval history. Contemporary chronicles describe large numbers of inhabitants being killed as Crusader forces took control of the city. By the summer of 1099, Jerusalem had fallen, and a new political entity was born, the Kingdom of Jerusalem. In the year 1100 AD, the city was still adjusting to this sudden transformation. European Crusaders, who had traveled from France, Italy, Germany, and other regions, now lived among the existing population of local Christians, Muslims, and Jews. The Crusader rulers attempted to reorganize the city according to the structures they understood from medieval Europe. Feudal systems of land ownership were introduced, and noble families took control of key territories. Jerusalem became the political and spiritual capital of this new Crusader state. At the center of the city stood the Church of the Holy Sepulchre, one of the most important Christian sites in the world. After the Crusader conquest, this church became the heart of Christian Jerusalem. Pilgrims began arriving in increasing numbers from across Europe, eager to see the city that had become the symbol of their faith. The streets of Jerusalem filled with travelers speaking many different languages. Markets grew around the pilgrimage routes, selling food, cloth, religious objects, and supplies to visitors arriving from distant lands. Yet Jerusalem in 1100 AD was not a large city by the standards of the medieval world. Its population was relatively modest compared to cities like Constantinople or Cairo. Estimates suggest that only a few tens of thousands of people lived within its walls, but its importance was not measured in size. Jerusalem was powerful because of what it represented. The city's layout reflected centuries of layered history. Narrow streets wound between stone houses built during different periods of rule. Markets were crowded with merchants selling spices, grains, textiles, and pottery. Wells and cisterns collected precious water, essential in a region where rainfall was limited. The city walls protected Jerusalem from outside threats, but they also marked a clear boundary between the sacred city and the surrounding hills of Judea. Just outside the walls lay olive groves, farmland, and the routes traveled by pilgrims approaching the city. One of the most striking areas of Jerusalem was the Temple Mount, known to Muslims as the Haram al-Sharif. After the Crusaders captured the city, this sacred area was repurposed for Christian use. The Dome of the Rock, with its golden dome visible across the skyline, became a Christian shrine known as the Templum Domini. Nearby, the Al-Aqsa Mosque was transformed into the headquarters of a new religious military order that would soon become famous across Europe, the Knights Templar. These warrior monks were tasked with protecting pilgrims traveling to the Holy Land. Their presence added a strong military dimension to the religious atmosphere of the city. Jerusalem in 1100 AD was therefore not just a spiritual center. It was also a frontier city, surrounded by territories where Crusader and Muslim forces constantly clashed. The Kingdom of Jerusalem was still fragile, and its leaders knew that Muslim powers in the region would eventually attempt to retake the city. Fortifications were reinforced, and garrisons of knights and soldiers were stationed across nearby castles and strongholds. Trade routes also played a crucial role in sustaining the city. Caravans brought goods from Damascus, Egypt, and other parts of the Middle East. Despite the political conflicts, commerce continued because merchants understood the value of exchanging goods across cultures. Spices, textiles, metalwork, and agricultural products flowed through regional markets, connecting Jerusalem to the broader economic networks of the medieval world. Religious life shaped daily routines in the city. Bells rang from churches marking times of prayer. Pilgrims walked slowly through sacred routes believed to trace the final path of Jesus before the crucifixion. Monks and priests organized ceremonies and guided visitors through holy sites. Meanwhile, local communities maintained their own traditions and practices, creating a complex mosaic of cultures living side by side within the same walls. Life in Jerusalem was therefore both intense and fragile. The city was filled with devotion, but it was also surrounded by tension and uncertainty. The Crusader rulers understood that their control depended on maintaining alliances, fortifying defenses, and securing supply routes. The balance of power in the region was constantly shifting. Armies moved across the landscape, and political alliances changed rapidly as different leaders sought influence over the Holy Land. Over the following decades, Jerusalem would remain at the center of the Crusader states, but its fate would once again change. In 1187, less than a century after the events of 1100 AD, the Muslim leader Saladin defeated Crusader forces at the Battle of Hattin and successfully recaptured Jerusalem, returning the city to Muslim rule. This dramatic reversal demonstrated how fragile political power in the region could be. Yet, regardless of who controlled its walls, Jerusalem continued to hold an importance that few cities in history could match. It remained sacred to billions of people across three major religions and continued to draw pilgrims, scholars, and travelers from around the world. Jerusalem in 1100 AD therefore represents a remarkable moment in history. It was a city shaped by conquest but driven by belief, a place where faith, politics, and culture collided in powerful ways. Within its ancient walls stood churches, markets, fortifications, and sacred landmarks that had witnessed thousands of years of human history. Even today, the echoes of that medieval city can still be felt in the streets of modern Jerusalem, reminding us that this small hilltop city has always stood at the crossroads of civilizations.